What is up, North Six? Welcome to the Soft Dump in the Corner podcast. Today's episode is going to be a good one. We are looking at our original first take, first prediction of who we think Luke and I are going to predict for the 2026 Team Canada Olympic roster. Again, this is our first prediction. We are still 2 years out, so let's take it with a grain of salt. This is our original take on who we are going to think. Again, Jordan Trafford here, joined by Luke Pendlebury. How are you doing today, buddy?
What's going on? I'm so excited to do this. Like, the big announcement came about a month ago that the boys are back at the Olympics, so I couldn't be any more excited, and let's get down to business here.
100%, man. Without further ado, I'm going to let you take it away. I'm thinking the way we do this here, folks, we're obviously going to have some locks. I think there's a few people right off the top of mind. We all know who are going to be there for a few of us. Why don't we take it? I'll let you start, let you take it away. Give me your first line. Let's do forward group first, then defense, and then goaltending, and then even two. We're going to do a couple of the snubs, players that are just on that tier, players who we think are this close, maybe players that we don't think are ready to take that next step, ready to play for Team Canada. Without further ado, Luke, your first line of the 2026 Team Canada roster. Ooh. Go ahead.
Oh, baby. I'm excited. My first line for Team Canada, the 2026 Olympics in Italy. It's going to be an interesting place for hockey. I'm excited to see how that all turns out. Number one center, I think everyone's in agreement here. It's number 97, Connor McDavid. I don't see why this guy wouldn't make the lineup. He is currently the best player in the National Hockey League. His speed, skill set, vision, IQ, everything. I'm pretty sure we can say he's going to be Canada's number one center. On my left side, this is going to be almost like a bit of a controversy from 2014. I do have Zach Hyman. A lot of people might question that Zach Hyman pick, but for me, I actually think he is pretty damn close to a lock. I think you have to realize like how good this player is. He gets down in the dirty areas. He is an absolute dog out there. And we have to remember we can't have all the same dimensional player out there, and having a guy who can go sniff the puck out for Connor. I think he's a great fit for the lineup, regardless if maybe some guys are more skilled than he is. You got to have a versatile group out there in order to win hockey games, especially in the Olympic level. So Hyman.
I love that. Is he your left wing or right wing? Not that it so much matters, but just for people to draw that picture in their mind here.
Left wing.
Left winger. Okay, right on. And your first right winger?
So my first right winger, I did some research on this. He's a great player. He's exceptionally skilled. His IQ is high. Great playmaker, and I think you'll be able to find Zach and Connor very easily out there. And it's Toronto's own Mitch Marner. I have Mitch Marner on that top line with Connor and Zach.
Top line.
Yeah, I think he fits well. After building my lineup, that's where he fits the best, in my opinion. And I have him playing there with Connor. They're in the same draft class. They're from the same hometown, buddies. I just think there's great chemistry there. Zach and Mitch obviously know each other. They play together in Toronto. I think he fits well in that lineup just because with the IQ he's got. He finds Austin every day out there in Toronto. Projected for over 100 points. I think he's going to be a good fit for Team Canada and on that top line with Connor and Zach. I think it's going to be a good fit. Might be a surprising one for many, but I truly believe I see him on that top line.
Yeah, I'm surprised, to be honest. I mean, I'm not going to discredit. Sorry, I'm just jotting these down as we go so I can compare and contrast. I'm not going to discredit that pick. I was very shocked. I'm shocked that you put that down there. Not to say that he's not capable of that position. I thought you may have taken a different approach here. Why don't we recap it at the end and maybe kind of argue, if you will, for lack of better terms, or kind of chat about it and discuss why? Do you want to go your entire forward roster, or do you want me to go my first line? How do you want to break this down? I'm good with either. I'll let you decide.
I'll break down my forward group, and then you break down your forward group. I think that.
Okay, I like that. Okay. So why don't you go second line then? Take it away. Do it as you wish.
Absolutely. Second line for the boys in red and white. Centering, Scott Sidney Crosby, 87. He's
I
gonna be
thought you were gonna say Scott Stevens for a second there. Okay, so Sidney Crosby.
he's back, baby.
Yeah, Crosby
Sidney,
centering.
yep,
Okay.
yep. 38 years old when it comes to the Olympics. He made a good statement. He says basically, didn't word for word he said this, but basically just, since I'm Sidney Crosby doesn't mean I get a spot. I have to earn every minute
I
and
loved it.
every,
I loved it.
and I love that. And
Couldn't
I
be more
love that.
true.
Yep. And it just shows true leadership. Like we're watching today, he is still producing at a high level. Penguins might not be doing as well as people may think, but Sid still got out there. Guy's one of the best two-way forwards in the National Hockey League right now. Over a point per game, smart on the draws. I couldn't see why he wouldn't make this team unless something happens. But he is my number 2 center. On the wings, left side, familiar face at hometown for Sid. I got Brad Marchand. He's going to be playing alongside Sid. I think a lot of people probably know these two have played together in previous international play, previous Olympics, World Cup. I honestly think they're going to know. They know each other very well. They train in the offseason together. I couldn't see a better fit having Brad on that left side with Crosby. And then I have on the other side another Nova Scotian. I've got Nathan MacKinnon. I think him playing with those two is going to be lethal. Absolutely lethal out there. Nate's going to be 30 by the time those Olympics come around.
Wow,
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Fuck.
His speed, agility, his IQ, how dominant he is with the puck. He's so strong with that puck, and he's going to be a force out there. I say he's the heart-leading candidate at this point in time. People could argue he's the best player in the league right now. It's nice to be arguing who the best player in the league is when everyone's on the same team here in red and white, so it's nice to have that. But his dominance, his skating, he's going to be a great fit with Sid and Brad on that second line. So the Nova Scotian line is what I'm going to call it, and that is my second line. My third line is going to be centered by my boy, Brayden Point. I think many can say one of top 3 most underrated players in the league at this time. He is a lethal force out there. The guy had 51 goals last year. No one says shit about that. He's going to be 29 years old. Sure, he might be a little smaller than the rest of the guys, but he's a great zone entry player. Be great for the power play, be able to set up the unit when they get in the offensive zone. Scores goals. He's great on the draws. I see him being that third line center for Team Canada.
I do like that one. Some really good points there too. Yep.
And then on the side, another boy of mine, I got Steven Stamkos on the wing. Pray that he's healthy. He is going to be 36. He is getting up there in age. But I'm going to be honest, he's not really slowing down producing-wise this year. He's been playing very good. Knowing, a familiar face and having Brayden Point as a centerman should be easy to kind of click in at the very beginning. And he's got obviously a lethal one-timer on the left side. Be great.
So you're taking Stammer on your left wing then?
Left wing, yeah.
Okay.
And then on my right side, I've got the young phenom, Connor Bedard. He's going to be 20 at this Olympics. And he is another phenom generational player that's, I don't know, there's much more to say. He's going to be over 100 points probably next couple seasons. He came back from injury with his broken jaw. It looks like he didn't even miss a game. He is scoring at a good rate. He's got like 6 points in his last 3 games that he came back from injury, which is great, especially playing on a Chicago team that has literally nobody. Just obviously a little worried from his size, but I think as the years progress, he's going to figure out his zone, his space, and being able to kind of maneuver himself around. But that's my third line. Fourth line, this is where it gets a little iffy.
I agree. This is where I think we're kind of going to take a little bit of a different approach here.
Yeah, this one is an off a board pick. This is more of a I think he's starting to develop and getting better as in the last couple years. But my center is Robert Thomas. And
Okay.
Robert Thomas is a great two-way player. He may not be as fast as maybe some other options I have, but like I said before, we can't have all the same player. We're gonna have someone that's strong on the draws and be able to, find their line mates while in the offensive zone and be able to clear pucks in the defensive zone. So, and Robert Thomas does that very well. He is an over point per game, which is good for St. Louis. And he'll be 26 years old, so he'll be entering prime time for him, and hopefully he can even take another step into that game because he's got about 2 years to go before the Olympics start. On my left side, I have Sam Reinhart, who's been exploding as of late. He will be 30 by the time the Olympics start. Another player who finds the back of the net. He's one of the more pure goal scorers in the league at this time. I believe he's second right now in goal scores. I think he's at 38 or 39. And he'll be a perfect fit for the team. Another goal scorer that Thomas can set him up kind of anywhere in the offensive zone because he just has the magic touch. He'll find the back of the net, no problem. Right side, I've got some veteran leadership. I've got Mark Stone. Mark Stone will be 33 by the 2026 Olympics. His IQ is very underrated. A lot of people don't talk about it. He is so smart on that ice. He'll know where all his line mates are, wherever he is. It's almost like he's got eyes behind the back of his head. He may not be the fastest player on the ice, but he brings obviously the smartness, and he's going to bring a lot of leadership to that locker room as well. So I think he will make the team, and he's got to be a great addition. More leaders, obviously, the better. There's so much leadership in this room. It's crazy. But yeah. I thought Mark Stone was a lot older, but he'll be 33 when the Olympics start, which is, thought he would have been like 35 or 36, but
yeah, that hairline fools a lot of people.
Yeah, so that's my forward core. I know there's going to be some.
Did you do two extras as well?
I could do two extras, absolutely.
All right, cool. Let's do two extras as well. So we'll do 4 full lines, 2 extra forwards.
Okay, so this one was a very borderline. I had him in there, crossed him out, then had him in there, crossed him out again. Matthew Barzal, and this kid's exploded this year. He may play on more of a defensive team like the Islanders, but he is by far one of the best players on that team, if not the best player on that team. He brings so much speed. May be good for bigger ice surface. Very smart. Got a good shot on the left side. But yeah, he's the one that's kind of on that borderline. If he can take just a tad bit more of a step, I think he might be in for that team, or even just an extra being in that lineup. Maybe not playing, but have an opportunity if an injury occurs. So, yeah, Barzal is my one extra, and my other extra, this guy's an absolute dog, is Travis Konecny. He's really kind of jumped into his game the last few years. May not be playing on a very strong Philadelphia Flyers team, but it's obviously well coached by Tortsy. But another player very similar to kind of Zach Hyman, where they're just both dogs. They're hungry for the puck. They'll go get it. They don't care how fast they're going into those corners. They're going to get it for you. And we might need more of that style, as there's a lot of strong teams out there that might not be willing to do that dirty work. But Canada's got to be versatile and being able to get that puck, because teams are getting strong. US looks really good. So having someone like Konecny out there, I think would be a strong addition to the boys in red and white. So that is my squad.
Right on. I like that, man. Like I said, we'll chat after here. I'll get through my forward group, and then we'll kind of compare and contrast. We'll chat about a few of the players and kind of go from there. Strong lineup. I do like a lot of that. I'll just kind of go right into mine. Obviously, there's going to be quite a few similar players, I'm sure. But let's just kind of go through it. I'll bang through mine, and then we'll kind of chat. So, without further ado, center one, no shocker here. I'm going 97 as well. I've got McDavid leading there. I kind of wrote down, is there really an argument here? I don't think you need
Yeah.
to really stack your lineup, especially going with your first line, putting, a couple players together to be named, of course. I think McDavid's going to be leading the way here. I think other than, Crosby's leadership and his, pedigree that he brings to the table, there really isn't anybody I don't think that deserves that top line center other than him,
Yep.
other than a certain other player that I'm going to name here. But centerman one, I think we can all agree McDavid. On
Yep.
my right winger, much similar to your approach here. This is my most controversial pick, I think, in terms of player that's coming into this league or into this team. Excuse me. Um, Chemistry is key. All right. I'm taking this approach. This is the Chris Kunitz to the Sidney Crosby in 2014
Yeah.
approach. You said it. You gave it away. I'm going
Yep.
Zach Hyman as my first right winger.
Right winger. Yep.
Hyman could be a 50-goal scorer this year. He's
Oh
on
yeah.
pace to do so. He's arguably going to be the hardest worker on this team. You pointed
Mhm.
that out. I'm going to
Mhm.
agree with that wholeheartedly. You
Mhm.
need somebody that's going and win those puck battles, go to the dirty areas, get to the front of the net, be consistent there, make the goalie work hard, be able to tip, deflect, rebound, do the stuff that a lot of players don't want to do. He loves doing that. He's also way faster and smarter than he gets credited for. I didn't
Mhm.
realize it for a long time. I didn't think Hyman was as fast as he is. That guy can wheel. He may not be quick and agile off the boot, but you get
Mhm.
him going, he's faster than a lot of people, expect. And I think he's a lot smarter than he gets credit for. Zach Hyman's going to be my right winger, number one. He
Yep.
could obviously sub up and down the lineup, but I do think he makes that team based on the chemistry with McDavid and his ability to finish and work hard. He is your workhorse.
Yep.
My left winger, I'm actually going to bring in the young kid. I'm putting Mr. Connor Bedard as my number one left winger. He is already in his rookie season. He's already an elite talent. He already
Oh yeah.
has arguably one of the best releases in the game. May not be the hardest shot, maybe not the best slap shot, if you will, but you
Yeah.
look at his release, his wrist shot, his accuracy, his quickness of his release, his power on his shot. He is
Yep.
already in an elite category in the NHL.
Oh
He's
yeah.
likely to be, you pointed out, 100% agree. He's likely going to be a 100-point player by the time he gets to the Olympics. That's in a year and a half's time. You
Yep.
give that guy another 120-ish some odd NHL games under his belt, he's going to
Yep.
start to figure it out. I
Yep.
also think Chicago is going to start to load up via free agency, via trades, via prospect pool coming up. I think that's only going to help him. His hockey smarts to play with the best in the world, I think you don't have an issue. I don't think chemistry with him and a bunch of other players will make any difference at all. Give him the puck, give 97 the puck. They'll find each other. They'll find Hyman. I think Bedard this is going to be his likely only chance to play with McDavid and Crosby. You
Yep.
get those
I
three
agree.
generational talents. I think 26 is going to be the only chance they will be able to play together.
Mhm.
You could even find them playing together on a line, right? Maybe even power play. That'd be quite the power play to go, right? Um, we'll think about that down the time. That's my first line. McDavid, right wing is going to be Hyman. First left wing will be Bedard. Going down a second line. Um, brutally honest, man, I'm just going to say ditto. I had the exact same three. So I have
Oh
Sidney
nice.
Crosby center. I had Nate MacKinnon on the right wing, and I had Brad Marchand on my left wing. Very quickly here, Sid, easy lock for me. 3-time cup champ. He's going to have over 1,500 games played, including playoffs,
That's
despite
crazy.
missing all of that time. He's
That's
got
not.
over 1,500 games of experience in playoffs, regular season and playoffs alone. He likely will be in the top 10 of the all-time point scoring as well come
Mhm.
the time of the 26th, presuming he stays healthy. Let's pray he stays healthy. As you
Yeah.
pointed out, and I made note of that too, he is still producing at an elite level. I did the quick calculation today. He's on pace for 49 goals this year. Sid could rip 50 again on a team that's doing
Fuck.
very, very poorly. So still producing at a high end level. Sidney Crosby's going to be there. I still think he's in an elite position there. And I think this is a great opportunity for him and MacKinnon. Obviously, as you pointed out, the Nova Scotians. I think that's the last time that Nate's going to have a chance to play with Sid too, his idol. So I think that's meaningful. I think there's
Yep.
passion there that they can bring and kind of be together. And then you just add the likes of Brad Marchand, man. Like, you hate to love this guy. Not many players in the league can bring what he brings. And
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean by that, you have the leadership, you have the grit, you have accountability. He is a captain in the NHL now as well. And he can score at a 100-point pace, which he's proving again this year. A
Yeah.
guy you just they don't make them like that anymore, right? I think he's a must-have on this roster, Brad Marchand. I really
Hmm.
do. He can make such an impact in so many different ways, not even just on the score sheet. He can be a veteran leadership. He can get in the other team's ears and really piss them off and piss goalies off. And like I said, he can be now, a presence in the room for the younger kids, and he can help in so many different ways. So Brad Marchand, left wing, Sid the Kid, still a kid to me, center 2, and Nate MacKinnon, my right winger 2. Moving
Marshy,
on to my third line here. So very comparable to what you've got on yours. I'm also sticking with Brayden Point as my third line center. All right.
my man.
I've got my notes here. One of the most underrated players in the game today. He
He
just
is.
really
Yeah.
is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Yep.
He's a former 50 goal scorer, as you pointed out. I think you said
Yep.
51.
Yep.
So he can put the puck in the net. He's an elite playmaker, but as you pointed out, man, he works so extremely hard. I've got here in
He
my
does.
notes, he's a workhorse, goes to the dirty
Yep.
areas. He
Yep.
is basically a rich man's Zach Hyman, minus a
Hmm.
little bit of size. Hyman's got a little bit of size, but they very, very similar hockey player.
Hmm.
Obviously, Point has a little bit more skill, a little bit better finishing ability, and can kind of play all around. He's a career 49% faceoff winner, and he's actually
Yeah.
had a really down year on the faceoff. He's actually only 44% this year in faceoffs. So I
Hmm.
think if you just kind of round that up, anytime you can get a 50% career faceoff winner on your team
Oh,
playing,
unbelievable.
that goes a very long way. He's actually second in ice time as well in Tampa this season, only behind Kucherov. So he's
Yep.
playing a little over 20 minutes a night. He's a guy that you want on your team. I can see Brayden Point being arguably, I know he doesn't play too much shorthanded time in Tampa, but I would not be surprised if they convert him over to your number one PK. Um, just with the talent alone and the offensive side of things, I think they're going to ask Brayden Point to be a defensive responsibility. And
Good
that's not
idea.
really the correct way to put it, but to be defensively responsible out there. And I think they're
Yep.
going to ask him to take on a more of a, shutdown type of style, approach here.
Yep.
And based on the way that obviously I don't know him very well, but based on the way that you see him in the media and handles himself and just does anything and everything John Cooper asks, I think he's going to have absolutely no issues with that. If he can lock in a spot to play for Team Canada Olympics, I think he'll do whatever it takes.
Yep.
Steven Stamkos, I've got on my right hand side,
Okay.
not the left like you do.
Yep.
I understand the philosophy for you having the offhand shot, having the one-timer side.
One
I
T.
think just
Yep.
playing his natural side is probably going to be better for Stamkos. He doesn't have to. If you watch, I think, and again, this is me being really, really hard on him. He obviously plays a lot of center for some unknown reason, and maybe it's just every time I seem to watch, I just notice this. If he's on his backhand side on the left side of the ice, he seemingly has a more difficult time than he does playing on his strong side. You
Hmm.
want the most advantage on any time you have. If you got a natural centerman, it's easier for him to play on that other side. Again, might just be purely opinionated. I would rather have Stamkos playing on his strong side, going up the ice, shooting into the goalie, as opposed to working on his backhand more often
Hmm.
than not. Again, opinionated. I
Yeah.
don't think it matters for a player of his caliber. He's so talented, and he's proven that for copious amount of years that he can score with the best of them. I love the chemistry between Point and Stamkos. I'm going to keep those guys together there. On my left-hand side, this is where it kind of shakes it up a little bit. I'm going to actually go with a little bit of a wild card here, not in particular, but not crazy off the board, but I'm putting Matty Barzal on that lineup.
Mm.
So I'm throwing Matt Barzal on my third line left winger. I think I'm going to use the exact same example of what I did with Point. Barzal's likely, if you look at this roster, he's probably the third best skater on this team in the forward group. I'd probably put MacKinnon and McDavid above him. If
Yeah.
you watch Barzal skate, not many guys can do the edge work, create those cuts, be as agile as Barzal is. He's
Hmm.
obviously got the speed, but his playmaking and vision is just disgusting. He's so good at seeing the ice, making that ice available for other players, creating space for himself and others. And he's got the, chance to really, like I said, take a different approach to this game. If he's going to make this roster, He's not going to be a go-to guy like he is in New York. He's going to have to bring something else to the table. Can we see him turn into a defensive responsible player? That's the big thing for him. Again, we're going to talk about a few of those things after here, but like I said, I feel like he's proven that he can play with a bunch of different people. You've seen it over the years with the Islanders. He had that ability to play with Anders Lee and made him a 30-goal scorer. He's been able to play with Brock Nelson, make him a dynamic goal scorer this season. Bo Horvat came in last year, immediate chemistry, right? You've seen him play with the top players that come into him. He's now going to have that chance to not have to be a go-to guy. He can just relax, right? Stress off the shoulders, go out and just play hockey, do what you're best at. You're even going to get the chance to potentially, now I understand Olympics is different because it's best on best on best, but he might have a chance to go against other third lines that aren't nearly as skilled and deep as Canada is, minus a few countries, of course, but he might be able to go out and just play stress-free hockey. And I'd love to see Barzal do out there. You play with an elite goal scorer with Stamkos and a guy that's responsible at anywhere in the ice with point. I love that line. Moving on to my fourth line here. Let me just bring this up just so I have it 100% true. My fourth line center, this might turn some heads here, but it's a player that I'm seeing develop year after year, and he's proven that he can handle playing with men his whole career. From your Anaheim Ducks, Mason McTavish, taking your fourth line center role. He's already proven that he could play Olympic hockey because he did. He's already proven that he can score because he's been producing at a better level than he ever has since he came into the league. Again, it's kind of looking at that same approach. You can't, and you mentioned it perfect. You were nailing the head earlier. You can't have 12 forwards that are the exact same. You need to be able to create a little bit of a different element. You're going to have guys that go in and shut down guys. You need a guy that can go out and play PK. You need a guy that has this, X, Y, Z. You cannot have the same hockey player 12 times over. It does not work. You need guys that bring different elements, but he also brings size, right? So that's another thing that I took into consideration was a lot of our skilled forwards moving forward are, 6 feet or less, right? Your Bedards of the world, your Points of the world, Marchands of the world, Barzals of the world. I think those guys are all under 6 feet, if I am correct. Maybe they stand 6 feet on ice, maybe. But my point being, you don't have no Zdeno Charas out there. You don't have no Milan Lucics in this line. You need some size, especially within your third and fourth, to bring a bit of a physicality, to have those extra length on your stick, to cover shooting lanes, to play PK, to just, again, different element, right? Different look. My philosophy here is, I can't have 12 guys in the same way. I see the development. I see the growth. He's a number 3 overall pick. He's only been improving year after year after year. You give him, again, like we said with Bedard, give him an extra 120 games. Let's see where he is at. Again, first roster prediction, folks. I got Mason McTavish, and he could even, hot take here, he could even jump a line or two by the time we're ready for that. All right. That's my fourth line center. Looking at my right side, I'll just go right side because we're doing right and then left. I have Sam Reinhart. So very similar to you. I really like what he's doing this year. He's taken ever since he's gotten traded to Florida, I think he's really stepped up year after year. He's obviously developed a lot of chemistry with, call it one of the best two-way forwards in the league with Barkov. So, I mean, that helps make you look good. Like you and I could slot a few goals playing with Barkov in a year. I think the biggest thing that I have here is like, is this going to be his career year? And is that enough for him to earn a spot, right? Is putting up 50 goals enough to lock him a spot? Can he, even if he doesn't score 50 again, if next season he puts up 35, 40 and he's still a dynamic offensive player, can prove that he's worth putting on this roster to add again? Like I said, I know, spinning record here, different element, bring something different to the table, right? He's got size. I think he's 6'2" or 6'3". He's not necessarily a huge bulking, young man, but he can obviously play with the best of them. He's proving that. His shot is elite. His skating is up there with the best of them too. He can keep it up. His hockey sense is always going to be there. That's things you just don't lose when you are a certain IQ of that game. You just don't lose that. So I think that could be something that we may want to consider for a fourth line. You have a little bit of talent, or you have a lot of talent on the offensive side. Can he be able to be a two-way forward that we need and just kind of create some chemistry, right? Fourth line left winger. not to much surprise, very similar to what you had too. We had a lot of similarities with our forward group. I'm also putting Mark Stone on there. You need a guy that's going to lead the charge on your defensive side. For the last 3 or 4 years, he's been in the top 5 defensively metrics, takeaways, reducing giveaways, penalty kill. You look at the Vegas Golden Knights; they're always top 5 in the PK. Well, you wonder why. Mark Stone's leading the way. They have sick decor. They have good goaltending. I get it. But what's one consistent? Mark Stone, Mark Stone, Mark Stone. And he's going to produce at a, call it 0.8, 0.9 point per game. He may not be 8 point per game guy, but when you put him in the metrics not the metrics, but you put him in with an Olympic level game, you're not asking him to go out and put up offensive numbers. He's going to take it on and say, you know what? You're giving me that lockdown role. Like, this is my house. You want me to lock down Austin Matthews? No problem. You want me to go and lock down, Anze Kopitar? You want me to go lock down Willie Nylander? This is me. I got this. Mark Stone is one of those guys that just says, you need me to do anything at all. I will do it, and I will do it better than the other guys. Like I said, you're not asking him to go out and score goals. You want this guy to be out there, PK number 1, fourth line, generate, as they say on the analytics, I want Corsi. Give me more shot attempts than shots against. This guy will do that. He's your number 1 guy there. He's going to be my number 4 left winger. For my extras, I got 2 off the board that you didn't say. So tune in, Tokyo, open your ears, everybody. Extra number 1, presuming he stays healthy and something doesn't happen to him, I got a feeling you have to give this guy a chance. Ryan O'Reilly. You have to give this guy a look. He's not the fastest in the world anymore. He may not produce in an absolute elite level. But I still think there's certain parts about his game that you just simply cannot teach. You cannot teach leadership. You cannot teach grit. You cannot teach intensity, right? You can't just put those certain aspects into any single player and expect it to work. He's like that Mark Stone. He's like that ticker, like I said, with Brayden Point and a couple of those guys. Like, whatever you need me to do, I'm going to go do it. You want me to lock down the number 1 center? You go look at any of the players that he plays against in the number 1 center. Very rarely does he get beaten when he's on the ice. Very rarely does the number 1 forward group of another team put up big numbers against his team. Very, very, very rarely. He's so dynamic on the defensive zone. Another thing too, he's a career 56% in the face-off dot.
Yeah, that's good.
56%. You need a guy that goes out and you're up by 1 goal and you're killing a penalty with 2 minutes left and you need to hold the lead. You got a defensive zone draw.
Yeah,
you feel comfortable putting out Ryan O'Reilly and Mark Stone. I sure as hell would feel comfortable if those were my number 1 PK at the end of the, gold medal game, up 1 goal, shorthanded. I'd feel comfortable putting Ryan O'Reilly in the faceoff dot about with anybody in the league right now, right? Those are certain things you just can't teach. You just can't always go back to. For me, like I said, it's a shot in the dark. I understand there's so much talent, but when it comes down to winners, he's a cup winner. He's won in the past. He knows what it takes. He's a guy that just will buy in and play any type of hockey that you want. Ryan O'Reilly makes my extra 1. Extra number 2, again, shot in the dark here, but I got Matt Duchene. He's going to be 35 at the time. I understand that, but age is just a number for a guy that can still skate with the best of them. This guy can still buzz up and down the ice, speed. He's over a point per game right now with Dallas playing in their lineup. He's a huge contributor to that lineup right now. Like I said, if he ends up losing a bit of speed, which his speed's always been his game since day 1. You go look at some guys in the really look like Andrew Coglianos of the world. I think back to Darren Helm of the world, like those guys that just they played in so long in the NHL because they could stay healthy and they were so quick, right? Duchene also, like I said, he was a number 3 overall pick one time. He's also got that offensive ability. He can score with the best of them, right? He may not be your number 1 defender style forward, but if you need a guy that goes up and down the lineup that can create chemistry, he's proven it year after year with team after team that he can score with anybody you put him out there with, right? So again, shot in the dark. We're first kind of projection here in terms of looking at it, but Matt Duchene, my number 2 extra. So looking at that wraps up our forward group here. we'll kind of do the same thing. We can kind of burn through the D a little bit quicker because obviously there's less. So without further ado, let's just jump right into that. Why don't you give me your D? I guess we'll do 6D plus 1 extra.
Okay, perfect. I'm just gonna do pairings. I think it's just easier and faster.
Yep.
I think we'll probably be pretty similar here in the first pairing. I got Toews, Makar.
Yep.
They're gonna be Toews will be 32, Makar will be 27. They complement each other so well. Makar, arguably one of the best skaters on the team, next to MacKinnon, McDavid. Generational player again, once again, best defenseman in the National Hockey League. I don't think you can argue that right now. And just the way he moves the puck, he's so fast. And then Toews is reliable on the back end defensively. I don't think I need to explain more. I think those two are kind of
love
your
everything
solid
about that.
1-2. I'm gonna continue the trend of pairings. I actually have Shea Theodore and Alex Pietrangelo. Yes, Pietrangelo is going to be 36. He is going to be a little older. These two bring grit. They bring size. They move the puck very well. Theodore's still going to be young. He's 30. But again, they complement each other very well. Pietrangelo moves the puck extremely, extremely well. He's smart with it. He's got the experience. He's won 2 Stanley Cups. He was a captain. Brings a lot of leadership. So having those two will be a key factor. And like I've mentioned before, if you're familiar, especially as with your D partner, things are going to be a little smoother out there. You're going to understand where your partner is at all times just because you played so many games with them. So that kind of, wraps my top 4. So my 5th, 6th spot, this is kind of where it gets maybe a little icky, but left side, I've got Josh Morrissey from Winnipeg. He is going to be 30. He has taken a step every year in his game in the last, let's call it 3 seasons. Great two-way defenseman, sees both ends so well. He is on a really good Winnipeg Jets team at this time. And I just think he's going to bring the intensity, the speed, the physicality, and whatever is necessary to get the job done for Canada. So I do like seeing him on that 5th spot on the left side. And on the right side, I have Dougie Hamilton. He's another guy that's going to bring size. My only worry is injuries. He is a bit injury prone. If he can stay healthy, he's got quite the cannon on him. And he can move the puck left to right very well, especially could be on the PP. Just be able to move the puck in the offensive zone. So, yeah, it's kind of my top 6 for defensemen. My 1 extra, yeah, I got 2, but I'll take 1 right now.
We're gonna say some snubs anyways. So I mean, you pick one right now. Like I said, man, first projections. So shoot for the stars.
Yep, I'm gonna go speed over experience. I'm probably gonna regret it. We'll see. But Noah Dobson from the Islanders. This kid's really stepped into his game the last couple years. Yep, he's playing on a defensive team, like I mentioned before with Barzal. But finds the back of the net, no problem. Moves the puck, gets it to the offensive zone. Plays power play minutes. And he's a real good point getter out there. And I just having a good puck moving defenseman alongside a great core is going to go a long way. And being able to make those long stretch passes, especially on bigger ice surfaces, is going to really help this team propel in the right direction. So yeah, those are my 7.
Sweet. No, love that. Again, just for mere sake of keeping things rolling, there's not much guessing game here when it comes to what I'm going to say in the first pair. I got the same thing, man. Toews and Makar. Don't need to go into too much further detail. I kind of wrote my notes. Already have great chemistry. Why fix what's not broken? Lock. Toews, number 1 lefty. Makar, number 1 right D. Now, before all of you go and comment in the sections here saying, oh, Makar is not playing in the Olympics, blah, 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 blah. Let's wait and see. We obviously understand that the Olympic Committee has come out and said there's a potential possibility that everyone who was a part of that World Junior team that had all the issues with the 5 players, whatever. I'm not going political here. Let's presume that they end up saying Makar was deemed non-guilty, nothing happened, and they're going to let him play. All right? Ball's
Yep.
out of the table. We
Yep.
understand there's a certain situation where, as of right now, Makar has the potential to not play. We are going to make the assumption Makar is going to be able to play because he is not
Yeah.
guilty, and we are just going to, for now, put him in. And I will also, too, as I said, make him my number one right D. Super easy. Makar, Toews, easy pair. Chemistry's there. Number 2 pair. Lefty, I'm also going to take him, but I'm going to slide him up. Josh Morrissey. I'm going to slide him up my lineup. Elite skater and elite playmaker. Put up a career high in points last season. As you said, he's a huge part of that Jets lineup. Very underrated part of their success.
Yep.
He's proved he can be a number 1 D-man with Winnipeg. He's proven he could play high-end minutes, and against the top, forward groups of the other teams, I think that he's going to be one of those guys that really opens a lot of people's eyes when having that extra year and a half of development for him. I think he's going to be able to do so. There's obviously a lot of lefty that could a lot of lefty that could really make this jump and be in that position. I said one of the big things that is the reason why he may not make that. He lacks a bit of size and physicality, but having said that, he makes up for his elite playmaking ability with his skating and his breakout passing, man. Like his passes are tape to tape. Very rarely does he, miss those, and doesn't make many mistakes. And I think that's a big thing, especially when you look at best on best. Limiting mistakes is crucial. Josh Morrissey, my second left D, on the right side, on my right side of my second right pairing defenseman, I'm going to go Noah Dobson. I think his breakout year is proven that he's already taken a next step. I think even with the next and upcoming years, he's going to have a little bit of time to develop. He plays in a really strong defensive group right now with Pelech and Pulak already there. I think he's taken the reins of that number 1 D spot. Words are hard for the Islanders. And I think that obviously his playmaking ability is there now. He's proven he can put up points. Can he now, in the next year and a half, develop that all-round game? Can he become that number 1 shutdown guy? Can he be the guy that they defensively trust and put out there, play PK, end of the game, you're out there shutting down the number 1 forward group or the power play, whatever. Can he be that guy that really rounds his game? Will his offensive numbers make up for that, and passing really make up for that strong defensive lapse that he has right now? I'm not saying he has a lapse. That's a very, very lack of better terms. I think right now he's a plus 20 on his team. But in terms of going against best on best for 4 straight lines, can he be trusted out there? And I think that over the next couple of years, he's going to develop into that. Third line, left D, I got Shea Theodore as well. Presuming he stays healthy, this next year and a half is going to be very, very crucial for him. Unfortunately, he's had injuries, man, and you just can't do much about it, right? Unfortunately, he's a cup winner. He has tremendous size, and he too is one of those guys that you can trust in the defensive zone to make that breakout pass. With such a high-end elite level of players in the forward group that can even make up for mistakes, you give these guys, especially McDavid, MacKinnon, Bedard even too, you give these guys a good pass and they have the ability to wheel very, and use their speed out of their zone. That's where Canada really sets ourselves apart. We're going to have one of the faster teams out there. You can look at the States and say, man, they are stacked with talent too. But the one thing I think Canada's going to really have an advantage on versus a majority of the teams out there, we have a lot of speed, right? With MacKinnon and Makar and obviously McDavid, Bedard as well. Like I brought up the Matt Duchene aspect. Brayden Point can wheel. Barzal can wheel. We have a lot of guys that can bring a lot of different elements, but speed is a common trait that I'm going with here. I think you need to be able to do so. Speed and defense are going to win you these tournaments, right? So I've got my left D3 pair is Shea Theodore. Right D3, I'm going with my boy, Evan Bouchard. I think he has taken a massive leap this year. He's taken over essentially that number 1 D pairing, if you want to call it that, between him, Nurse time on ice, and obviously Ekholm's time on ice. Ekholm has turned Bouchard into a much better player. I think he's learning now what he can and cannot do. He's coming into his own. The one thing a couple things that I made for point-wise for Bouchard He's arguably got the hardest shot on this team, which I think when you look at the power play, I think that even though a hardest shot is not always the best thing in the world, I think what with his power on his shot and also his accuracy when he does hit the net, I think that he's going to give that power play a little bit of a different look if he gets picked, right? I think that's a big part of the game. His playmaking ability slowly coming around. It's his defensive game that, as of right now, I'm not willing to say he's going to play in the top four. But I think within the next year and a half, as he continues to develop and as he continues to play against the league's toughest opponents, he's going to round into form. I strongly believe that Bouchard will be in the top six, and even to my next projection could have in the top four. So will his defensive play be a liability? That's time will tell. Right now, I got him as my right D3. As my extra D, I'm going back to veteran leadership. I'm going to experience, and I'm going to time on ice, and this big dog still brings it, and that is number 8 from your LA Kings, Drew Doughty. This guy
That was
still eats
yeah.
minutes, man. He's still playing 25 almost minutes a night. Power play, PK. He's your leader in the dressing room next to Kopitar. He's your guy that out there is still throwing the body at his age and still skates extremely well. He's never been an elegant skater. He's not going to blow you away, but he's still so strong on his skates. He's very consistent on the ice. He always makes a smart play. If there's nothing there, high off the glass. If he can make something work, he'll skate the puck into the zone, gain the entry. If he can't do anything, he'll make the smart play and dump it in. Like, you watch his game and you just say, he just doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't give the other team a chance to capitalize on his mistake, right? If somebody he's playing with on the ice makes a mistake, he's still good enough to make up for that, take the puck away, get into a shooting lane, block the shot, get a stick on it and put it out of play. Like, he just does so many things right. He's just a winner. He's a 2-time cup champ, and I just don't think you can get enough of leadership, especially when it comes to best on best. So I'm throwing in my extra D-man, Drew Doughty. Let's move on here. Just because I said we're just trying to keep this clean and content. We've got this roster projection number 1 currently ongoing. Again, this North 6 Sports. Please give us a like, follow, share for more content. We're going to be delivering more as we go on in terms of roster projections. We're still continuing, yearly information and talking there. But let's continue on with the projections here. Goaltending. Who do you have as your 3 goalies that we've got on this roster?
Jacques Plante.
The first goaler to wear the mask.
Yeah. No, 3 goalies. And I think this is a huge question mark, I think, for Canada. And I talk about this with, I'll talk with you and I'll talk with a bunch of people. It's like, who would be Canada's goaltenders? If it's a healthy Carey Price, maybe. He is getting old. But, you look at other countries and you look at their goaltending, you look at the U.S., Ottinger, Hellebuck, Demko, that's fucking good. And then whether or not Russia plays, they've got probably the 3 best goalies in the league. So my goalies, so this is 2 of them I feel okay with. One is a big risk. But starting goalie, gotta go to the Vegas Golden Knights. You gotta go to Adin Hill. Adin Hill's got the experience, won Stanley Cup. He is leading the league in goals against average right now at this time. Solid goalie. He's playing in front of a solid team, as we know, but he is also going to be playing in an even better team with Team Canada. So
I agree.
Stats should match or even be better. I would feel very comfortable with him leading the boys between the pipes. Backup goalie, going out west to your boy, I'm going Stuart Skinner. Stewie Skins with the cookie duster.
I like it. I
like it too. Oilers are playing good. He is playing phenomenal.
Yeah.
If, like I said before, you're going to have a gross team in front of you. I don't see why not he would be an option to even take the starter role. So those 2 would be battling it out. Third one, this one's a real off the board dark horse pick. This is based on if things work out. There's so much potential for this young lad. I have Devon Levi. He is still working out the kinks. A lot of potential. He is going to be 24. If he has a big year next year and leading forward, potentially. But I thought I would make it a little off the board controversy, so I tossed Levi in there. Those are my goaltenders.
Cool. So two quick points to make before I give mine. First and foremost, yes, I agree, man. Like that's arguably our weakest position is going to be goaltending.
Mhm.
It could be we could be proven really wrong very quickly as well. Like you pointed out, man, Hill's playing in front of a good team in Vegas. There's a better team in Team Canada, right? You're gonna
Yep,
have a lot, but
yep,
they're also everyone's best on best. The one thing I will say though, and I've mentioned it before, time after time, I don't care if you got three goalies, only one goalie plays,
yep,
right? Only one
yep,
goalie plays.
yep,
Whoever
yep,
is the
you're
hot
right.
hand is playing in goalie. You're not switching
Absolutely.
every period. You're not going like they're sticking with, they might get one game each in the preliminaries, but then once you play the medal rounds, one goalie's it.
Who's
Whoever the
hat?
hottest goalie is, right? So, with that being said, again, just I don't want to get into too much detail. We'll obviously be breaking these down, give us a secondary, maybe even a third projection as we go in, and then of course when a roster is announced, we'll dive into that. But without further ado, I'm going to go and give my three here. I'm basically the same ones. I really like Adin Hill as my number one as well. Cup winner, came in, proved everyone was doubting him. Everyone had him as an underdog last year. They always said, oh, when I think Logan Thompson went down as their secondary goalie
Yep.
after obviously they lost a couple goalies last year in the playoff run. He stepped in and was just disgusting, man. Like he single-handedly beat the Edmonton Oilers last year in the playoffs in the second round. He's obviously proven he can be a number one goalie. He's the hottest Canadian goalie right now. There's no doubt.
Mhm,
Other than
mhm,
obviously Skinner going on his 12-game win streak.
yep,
If he continues to play well, he's arguably starter or backup. Same thing, secondary goalie number two. I also have Stuart Skinner. Obviously trying not to be biased here. Muzzy. But you can't argue with the numbers. He had a terrible start to the year, and he's still in the top three or maybe even four in the Vesna run. I said he's been on a 12-game win streak as a part of their 16-game win streak. Um, if he can stay hot, he's going to have a chance at a starter or backup role. I really strongly believe that. He's got nothing but a strong forecast ahead in the future for the Edmonton Oilers. They've trusted him as their number one goalie. And I think that obviously now they're just going to keep it riding. If you keep it
yep,
riding, let him keep winning, and he's still winning for you, why not go with it? I think Team Canada is going to take that approach. I think Stuart Skinner will be your number two, potentially could even work his way and battle for the starter position. Number
yep,
three, this is where we do differentiate.
yep.
I
Figured
didn't
you
even
would.
think of Levi, truthfully. Not to doubt him, not to doubt him.
Yep.
I've actually got the old school goaler, Marc-Andre Fleury. I do.
Fuck.
Here's
Is he gonna be
here's
pussy?
one of the reasons why. Age may be catching up to this guy here, yes, but I also think he's one of those guys that if you give him a week or two and you just need him to play the best hockey, he's going to be able to find that deep within and just use that fuel for fire. He's got that leadership, but he also has the experience. I think experience is huge in an Olympic setting because you have a lot of young kids that have never been there before. It's very overwhelming when you're in the Olympic oval. There's so much going on. There's so many other athletes around. There's a hot bunnies riding, like sexy tight broads running all over the place. It's easily distracted. And I think that's one thing that Fleury can really bring. Even if he's not playing, he's going to lighten up the mood and the atmosphere of the dressing room. He's going to be able to draw back on his experience. He's a three-time cup champ. I believe he's an Olympic winner as well. I believe he was on the roster in 14. I'd have to
Yeah, he
double
was.
check. Again,
He was.
apologize. Should have done my research. He's a guy you want in your dressing room. And I think having him be there for Hill and Skinner, just to give the experience, to draw on anything, to be able to help answer any questions, I think is huge. So yeah, that's what I'm going with. I like Fleury if he's still playing, if he still decides to play. I think he's got to be worth the consideration, is what I'm saying. So that kind of
Yep.
wraps that up there, right? So we'll kind of go into a little bit more detail, of course, as we get out there. We're going to release our actual list of players. We'll give you a little bit of a cleaner, look as we, finish the video here. I'll flash the two teams up on the board. You know, comment, like, subscribe, like I said, but give us your opinions, right? Tell us what you like
Yep.
and don't like. There's going to be
Yep.
something that, you as the viewers and obviously Luke and I disagree on. We agree on plenty as well, but let us know what you guys think as well, because we always want to know. Like I said, this is our first prediction. We're still a year and a half out. There's going to be a lot that changes. So
Mhm.
let us know what you guys think as well, right? I also, too, just to wrap things up, and I know we went a little longer than we wanted to, I wanted to talk snubs here, preliminary snubs. So I got 5 of each category. I don't or no, 5 of each in the forward and D, and then 3 goalies. I don't know how many you have, but do you even
Not that
have, like,
many.
a few snubs and forwards that you wanna just kinda give a shout out to, defense and then goalie as well? Don't have to
Yeah,
explain it, but just kinda snubs,
yeah.
and these were who?
Yeah, I can give you a list. I got. I do. Funny enough, I do have Mason McTavish as a snub.
Okay, so
Um,
we're kinda on the same board there.
yes, and I do agree to your points. Like, I think he can be very. His potential is very high. His ceiling super high for what he can bring out there. We all know what he did in the World Juniors. I do have Noah Dobson. I have him sitting there too.
Okay,
Or sorry, no, I had Noah Dobson. Sorry, I meant Drew Doughty. I have Drew Doughty,
okay,
which
right,
that's
because you did
the
have
battle.
Dobson.
Goalies, I had Binnington. I don't know, Jordan Hacksall.
Yeah, yeah,
In
basically,
that
right?
case. And I have Aaron Ekblad.
Okay,
Um, potential
yeah,
potentially there if he's healthy. And I did have Ryan O'Reilly as well.
okay,
So I have very
cool.
similar guys to the replacements of what I had in there, and then mine were snubs that
Yeah,
you
and
had
I
in there.
assume we'd be on similar pages. Did you have any
Yeah.
more? Just
That's all I had for
okay,
snubs.
sweet.
Yeah.
So I'll give you my 5. I did
Yeah.
5 forwards, 5 D, 3 goalies. I'm not going to go
Okay.
into detail as to why, but I'm going to go in no
Let them.
particular order here. No particular order, okay, everybody? Okay, Leafs fans. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. My 5 forward snubs: Bo Horvat.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Travis Konecny, which I've starred as he should be in the lineup, but I just don't know if I can. He's my scratch out, scratch in, scratch out type of guy.
Yeah.
Ryan Nugent Hopkins, just because I think it's worth noting. Obviously, you have the chemistry. He's a very,
Mm-hmm.
very responsible two-way
Mm-hmm.
forward. Could easily play your first line PK. He's a 100-point player as well. Don't forget that. I got him as a snub as well. I think there's other players that just need to fill the void and can do better than what he potentially could do.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Suzuki, I think, has
Oh yeah.
really drawn into playing in the potential of making Team Canada as a third or fourth liner as well. He's also started my forward group. And then, of course, Mitch Marner. I just feel with Mitch Marner, he's got to play in top 6 or he just won't play. You know what I mean? Again, everyone's going to say, oh, he plays PK and he's this, and that. And it's go, well, okay, well,
Yeah.
I don't think he's as good on the PK or defensively responsible for a third line role or a fourth line role. I just think you got too many players in there. Like I said, shoot
That's
me.
fair.
I don't have Mitch Marner on my team. I'm sorry. He's a snub. Okay. I get it.
Yep. Yep.
Defense, moving on because I'm going to get yipped in the comments. I've got Dougie Hamilton, and I got him starred as well as the potential swap in and out. I would probably look at him if Dobson doesn't really grow into the way I think he's going to, or Doughty. I really do think Bouchard's going to make this team. Owen Power, I've got as well as a snub on my side. He obviously
Oh
played
yeah.
Olympic hockey as
Yeah.
well. He's also played Worlds as well. So I
Mm-hmm.
think those are two things to consider. He hasn't had that great start to his career that everyone thinks he would as a number 1, but he's super young and he's still in a developing team in Buffalo. I got Vince Dunn as well, who's had a fantastic year in Seattle, who
Mm-hmm.
also skates like the wind, who can also do a lot of similar characteristics that we've mentioned with a lot of the guys here. I've got Mackenzie Weegar and I've got
Yep.
Thomas Chabot as my
Mm-hmm.
snubs. Um, 2 or 3 of those guys I really don't necessarily think have a chance. Like I said, Dougie Hamilton and I think Owen Power are kind of my 2 where keep an eye ons. My
Yeah.
goalies, I also do have Jordan Hackstall, Jordan Binnington. I think he's one of those guys that it's tough to beat his passion. There really aren't many guys that can bring the passion that he does. Tristan Jarry, who unfortunately I believe has really played himself out of a spot on Team Canada, especially after this
Yeah, I
season.
agree.
And my star for the goalie that I think has potential to creep in there, watch out for the third here. Here's a hot take. Connor Ingram out of your Arizona Coyotes, who's had a
Played well this year.
fantastic season despite the poor defensive play, very little goals or offensive help, if you will, for the right way to say that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you got to keep an eye on Connor Ingram. I think he's had a great start to his career. I think he's still young and has a good chance to improve in a lot of areas. And like I said, you just put him on a team where everybody's on the same page and everyone's really dynamic. I think you put him on a team like that, and you just never know, right? It might be the Adin Hill effect with Vegas of last year. So those
Yeah.
are my snubs. We went through those. Is there anything else you kind of want to touch on, or like I said, I know we went a little longer than we kind of aimed for here. I wanted to get a first kind of projection out there for everyone to sort of see where we're at, what we're thinking alone. We have a lot of guys that we agree on, a couple that we don't. We'll obviously go into further detail down the road. Is there anything that you kind of wanted to add to that?
No, not really. It's just like I mentioned before, like my excitement for this, and I think a lot of us have been waiting for it. A lot of players have really been waiting for it. I know McDavid's really expresses thoughts on it, especially in the media. So I'm really glad to see this back, and a lot of these generational players can play with each other, and there are going to be some generational talents that are going to be playing against each other, and like that U.S. team is stacked. I'm sure maybe we can look at that down the road as well. But yeah, I'm so excited, and everyone can grow. Everyone can be together as one. Watch the Olympics, and we're all cheering for the same team. So, no, I'm so excited. But other than like information wise, no, I think we've covered everything that we needed to.
I love it. Yeah, man. Like I said, I don't need to go and say it. I'm super excited as well. As I said here, for everyone still listening, watching, however you're getting this here, please give us a like, subscribe, give us a follow. Please give us 5 stars on the podcast as well. It really, helps us a lot. Like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Share it along the way if you can. More importantly, please comment. Let us know what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Is there some players that we forgot about? Is there some players we're overrating, underrating? Anything you need to hear in specific, please let us know what you think as well. We are not always correct, although we like to act like we are. There's a lot of things that we do get wrong. So, like I said, please let us know your thoughts. Give us your comments. Who should be on? Who shouldn't be on? Is there certain lines we messed up? Anything like that? We are happy to hear that, and we will gladly discuss that. We do have plans of potentially doing a live here soon as well to maybe go over a few things and go over similar to what we just talked about here, just to kind of interact with you guys a little bit more. So those are kind of plans down the road. We're going to obviously, like I said, do another one of these projections as we draw near to the actual tournament, and then hopefully do a final one with the actual roster projection or a roster being announced. So without further ado, like I said, please go out, like, and subscribe. This has been another edition of the North 6 Sports Soft Dump in the Corner podcast. Thank you, everybody, very much for listening.
Thank you.
Peace out.